Good morning and welcome. I would invite you to rise and body your spirit as we join together in singing number 347, Gather the Spirit. Number 347. Gather the Spirit, harvest the love, our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of His love, the triumph of His light, appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather
Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. Excuse me. Whether you are with us here in person in the sanctuary, live streaming from home, or watching on demand at a later time, we are so glad to have each of you with us. I am Barbara Lynn, a member of the Lay Worship Leaders Program, and I am delighted to introduce those who will be leading our service today. The Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, our senior minister, the Reverend Theresa Rohlck, Minister of Pastoral Care, Carter Smith, our acting director of music ministries, Stella Anderson, Director of Spiritual Growth and Development, Allison Halerz, our Pianist-in-Residence, and Mike Halerz, our technology consultant. We are also joined by Haley Boyce, another member of our Lay Worship Leaders Program, and Joni Parker, co-chair of our Vision Support Committee. Also with us are Mary Kumbia and Sophie Hiltner of the Women's Center of Southeastern Michigan, and our Chalice singers, regaling us in song. I want to extend an especially warm and open-hearted welcome to any newcomers who may be with us this morning. Thank you for your presence as you explore whether this community might make a good home for you. If you are here with us in person, I invite you to our newcomer welcome, held in the Redmond Room right after the service. As you leave the sanctuary, the Redmond Room is the second door to the left. There you will find friendly volunteers and staff waiting to greet you, listen to you, and enter into dialogue with you about our faith and this community. If If you are a newcomer live streaming with us, please introduce yourself in the chat so other fellow live streamers can offer you a personal greeting. And for those newcomers watching on demand, you can learn more about us on our website at www.uuaa.org. And should you wish, you can help us learn more about you by filling out our newcomer survey found on that site. Today we explore the beauty, meaning, and impact of our shared journey at UUAA. To me, a shared journey conjures up pilgrims on the road, traveling together as we build beloved community side by side. Pilgrims, by their very nature, seek. What a gift it is that the very first thing we discover as we set out on our journey is each other. How grateful I am to be speaking our welcome today of all days as we celebrate our shared life in community. For welcome is one of our most meaningful acts, rising almost to the level of ritual. We call it radical welcome, and it goes beyond a greeting at the door or these words as I speak them now. Radical welcome is our posture, our practice, and like any practice, we engage it with intention over and over again. It is ongoing and extends to all. It is what we were invoking last Sunday when we learned to recite together, "No one is outside the circle of love." The community we pilgrims are building, the circle we are forming, is sheltering, empowering, life-giving, and universal. I invite you into a place of centering and grounding as we move more deeply into our time together. Come, step into the circle. We are gathered for worship.
Now imagine the circle you have just stepped into has this chalice at its center. When it's lit, it illuminates all of the circle, not just one small section. The light reaches all of us. And each time we shuffle around a bit in the circle to make it wider, to include one more and one more and one more, the light remains steady in the center, and it can be seen and felt by all. So let's light this chalice, today a symbol of our UU faith, knowing that other congregations are doing the very same thing this morning across the country, maybe some even at this exact moment. And know that we are just one of the many communities who are working to make that circle wider. And so today I invite any of our youth, any of our kids who would like to come up and help light the chalice. Totally optional, but we'd love to have you. And notice how this circle is getting bigger. It's kind of a line, but how this circle is getting bigger and bigger, and we're shuffling to make room for one more, one more. Yes. Okay, so I'm very grateful for Stella to be coordinating this. As they're going to pass this down, and when they get a little bit closer, we will join together in saying the words. Oops, hold the thing up. Oh, yeah. All right. Keep this image in mind. All right, let's say these words together. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. And we light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you all. And truly, remember what that looked like, because in about an hour you're going to hear something, and I want you to recall that when you hear those words. Our covenant is the promise we make to each other and to everyone else in that widening circle of how we are to be in relationship with each other. Saying it out loud to each other each week is a reminder of what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. It's not a creed, it's not a single belief that binds us together. We are bound together because we covenant to help one another. Think about all the ways you make this covenant come alive in your daily lives as we speak the words together. Will you join me in saying, "The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another."
Good morning. Good morning. So many kids came up to help light the chalice. It's a nice problem to have. On this Sunday, as we celebrate our beloved community, what better story for all ages than the classic folktale Stone Soup? Has anyone here read or heard a version of this story? Most of you, I imagine. It's quite famous. There have been countless variations traced back to countries across Europe. In some versions, the soup is made from a nail or an axe or buttons made of bone. And in many versions, even most versions, the visitors are deceptive tricksters or hungry travelers seeking something for themselves. What makes the retelling I'm sharing with you perfect for today's service is that these travelers are Zen monks seeking to teach the people of the village the power of togetherness. As you listen, consider our shared journey, the one that everyone in this sacred space and worshiping from home are traveling together. What do you bring to our collective pot? Stone Soup, retold and illustrated by John J. Muth. Three monks, Hawk, Lock, and Sow, traveled along a mountain road. They talked about cat whiskers, the color of the sun, and giving. "What makes one happy, Sow?" asked Hawk, the youngest monk. Old Sow, who was the wisest, said, "Let's find out." The sound of a bell brought their gaze to the rooftops of a village below. They could not see from so high above that the village had been through many hard times. Famine, floods, and war had made the villagers weary and untrusting of strangers. They had even become suspicious of their neighbors. The villagers worked hard, but only for themselves. There was a farmer, a tea merchant, a scholar, a seamstress, a doctor, a carpenter, and many others. But they had little to do with one another. When the monks reached the foot of the mountain, the villagers disappeared into their houses. No one came to the gates to greet them. And when the people saw them enter the village, they closed their windows tight. The monks knocked on the door of the first house. There was no answer. Then the house went dark. They knocked on a second door, and the same thing happened. It happened again and again, from one house to the next. "These people do not know happiness," they all agreed. "But today," said Sow, his face bright as the moon, "we will show them how to make stone soup." They gathered twigs and branches and made a fire. They placed a small tin pot on top and filled it with water from the village well. A brave little girl who'd been watching came to them. "What are you doing?" she asked. "We are gathering twigs," said Lock. "We are making a fire," said Hawk. "We are making stone soup, and we need 3 round, smooth stones," said Sow. The little girl helped the monks look around the courtyard until they found just the right ones. Then they put them in the water to cook. "These stones will make excellent soup," said Sow, But this very small pot won't make much, I'm afraid. My mother has a bigger pot, said the girl. The little girl ran home. As she started to take a pot, her mother asked what she was doing. The 3 strangers are making soup from stones, she said. They need our biggest pot. Said the girl's mother. Stones are easy to come by. I'd like to learn how to do that. The monks poked the coals. As smoke drifted up, the neighbors peered out from their windows. The fire and the large pot in the middle of the village was a true curiosity. One by one, the people of the village came out to see just what this stone soup was. Of course, old-style stone soup should be well seasoned with salt and pepper, said Hawk. That is true, said Locke, as he stirred the giant pot filled with water and stones. But we have none. I have some salt and pepper, said the scholar, his eyes big with curiosity. He disappeared and came back with salt and pepper and even a few other spices. Sal took a taste. The last time we had soup stones of this size and color, carrots made the broth very sweet. Carrots? Said a woman from the back. I may have a few carrots, but just a few. And off she ran. She returned with as many carrots as she could carry and dropped them into the pot. Do you think it would be better with onions? Asked Hawk. Oh yes, maybe an onion would taste good, said a farmer, and he hurried off. He returned in a moment with 5 big onions, and he dropped them into the bubbling soup. Now that's a fine soup, he said. The villagers all nodded their heads as the smell was very agreeable. But if we only had some mushrooms, said Sal, rubbing his chin. Several villagers licked their lips. A few dashed away and returned with fresh mushrooms, noodles, pea pods, and cabbages. Something magical began to happen among the villagers. As each person opened their heart to give, the next person gave even more. And as this happened, the soup grew richer and smelled more delicious. I imagine the emperor would suggest we add dumplings, said one villager. And bean curd, said another. What about cloud ear and mung beans and yams, cried some others. And taro root and winter melon and baby corn, cried other villagers. Garlic, ginger root, soy sauce, lily buds. I have some, people cried out, and off they ran, returning with all they could carry. The monks stirred and the pot bubbled. How good it smelled. How good it would taste. How giving the villagers had become. At last, the soup was ready. The villagers gathered together. They brought rice and steamed buns. They brought lychee nuts and sweet cakes. They brought tea to drink, and they lit lanterns. Everyone sat down to eat. They had not been together for a feast like this for as long as anyone could remember. After the banquet, they told stories, sang songs, and celebrated long into the night. Then they unlocked their doors and took the monks into their homes and gave them very comfortable places to sleep. In the gentle spring morning, everyone gathered together near the willows to say farewell. Thank you for having us as your guests, said the monks. You have been most generous. Thank you, said the villagers. With the gifts you have given, we will always have plenty. You have shown us that sharing makes us all richer. And to think, said the monks, to be happy is as simple as making stone soup. The end. Is stone soup really about soup? Yes? No? A little of both? What do you think the soup actually represents? If you have an idea, yell it out. It represents sharing. Sharing. Anything else? Any other ideas about what the soup is actually about? Sharing. Anything else? What's a place in which we might share together? What's a good word for that? Coming together? Where might we do that? In a community, right? Very nice. And what kind of ingredients do all of us bring to the pot? These can be specific or they can be general. What makes our UUAA soup special? Us. What are the ingredients that make us us? Love. Yell it out. Love. Peace. Hope. Singing. Come on. The Chalice singers. Ideas. What? Fuzzy chickens. Yes. Excellent. That's a very unique ingredient, very rare. What was that? Playing. Creativity. Great one. Teachers. Learners. Sunday school. Did you have another one? No. Anybody else? Adults too. What do you bring? Generosity, compassion. Kindness, thoughtfulness. What? Acceptance. Listening. Food. Donuts. I think we hit the most important ones right at the end there. What was that? Water. Yeah, we do need water. Salts. The thing about a good quality recipe, which many of the bakers and cooks in the room will know, is that every ingredient, no matter if it's just a teaspoon of salt or a bay leaf or a dash of lemon zest, is important. Whether you've been here for years or today is your first time, without each and every one of you and all of your unique gifts, our UUAA community would not be the strong, active, loving force that it is. Because of you and what you bring, we are making the world a better place. And now is the time in our service when we sing our children to their programs. I invite all of our young people to follow me and the teachers, look for the sign for your class, out of the sanctuary, as the congregation sings with love and tenderness.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
I love the opportunity to introduce the organization with whom we share the collection on the first Sunday of the month. It reminds me that there are so many groups in this community that embody the same principles that we at UUAA hold dear, and how our giving can be such a blessing to support truly important work in our community. Today we will share the collection with the Women's Center of Southeastern Michigan. And in a moment, you'll hear from Mary Kumbia, their community engagement manager, who is joined by Sophie Hiltner, a new intern. Sophie's right back there. And after the service, you are welcome to go into the social hall and have a chance to talk with them more about their programs. I think you'll agree that the Women's Center embodies the idea of radical welcome. They provide a space, a circle of community that is empowering, life-giving, and transformative for those they serve, people of all gender identities. Please welcome Mary Kumbia to our pulpit.
Thank you for that warm welcome. Appreciate it. It is a sense of community that we have at the Women's Center. And thank you also for the story that you have. So, Stone Soup is really a great analogy of kind of the things that we do here. So I have 3 minutes to share, basically a framework of why we exist, what we do, who we serve, and what part you play in it. So simply put, we provide mental health counseling, career and financial coaching, along with various support groups, whether it be for new moms, which we found were the most isolated in the pandemic, all the way to divorcing people. So we presented here in 2017, and your donations really helped us change lives. So thank you for inviting us back. It's been a challenging couple of years, and the impact on women, the pandemic had a disproportionate impact on women, and so we really appreciate the opportunity to come before you again. So why do people come to the Women's Center? When individuals walk in the door, they're typically going through a life transition, they're experiencing challenges or trauma. They may be strong and resilient, but it's just that one more thing that kind of tips the scale for them. So recently some of those things have been isolation in the pandemic, inflation, and or politics, or a combination of them all. And that one more thing is really what motivates the clients to reach out to us. So what do we do when they walk in? We do provide support and help for them in any way, shape, or form. We help the clients, individuals, achieve economic and emotional well-being is simply what we say. But what's unique about our help is that we provide support and help for anybody who walks through the door, regardless of their gender, their race, or their ability to pay. That is very unique for the Women's Center and for a lot of mental health counseling places. We have been an independent nonprofit serving all genders and identities ages 16 and up since 2000. And we provide counseling, education, and support. And our services really help people rebuild their lives. They're often without a family, friends, or a faith community. So you can appreciate how important that is. So really quickly, I'll give you an overview of who are the examples of clients that we serve. And these are real clients, and perhaps you know someone like this. Avni, 32, became a first-time mom in the pandemic. Marie, 52, was going through a divorce, needed financial counseling because her income had drastically changed. Lindsay, 22, had lost all her motivation after graduation because the internship that she had lined up had fallen through. Her boyfriend broke up with her, and she had moved back home with her parents. Vanessa was 45 and had a wife who was her primary breadwinner who wanted a divorce, and she'd been home alone with the kids for years. This one's hard. Jasmine, 59, was grieving her daughter's COVID death and was now raising her 6-year-old grandson. So we have more specific details and stories on our board right here, and stats displayed in a frame there. But what I think is interesting, a lot of people don't know, is that although we're the Women's Center, our new stats here are 81% women that we've served, and also it jumped dramatically in the pandemic, 11% men, and then 7% who are non-binary. How do we help? When I said that we have personal counseling, education support, our personal counseling is based on an individual's ability to pay. So we have private insurance, Medicare, and we also have a sliding fee scale so that a client's ability to pay is not a barrier to mental health support. Then our workshops, where we provide education support, are for new moms, financial or career coaching, divorce education, resource navigation, And that means anybody who walks in the door, if there's a service that they need that we don't provide, we point them in the right direction. Say, for example, housing or food, something of that nature. And then we also have a highly sought after clinical internship program, which Sophia is a part of. And they receive counseling and they receive support and coaching and a mentorship when they're there, and they're usually there for 3 semesters. So why is our support needed? It's really important that we know that when individuals have the tools to assert their economic and emotional strength, that families and communities thrive. And you had a really good example of that in your story today and everything that you've talked about that's here in the community. So it's through the generosity of our donors, and then we have strong community partners for our events, that we're able to provide what we call life-transforming support to anyone who walks through the door, whether they're transitioning into college, a new mom, divorce, whatever it is, we're there for all of those transitions. So as you can see, over the past couple of years, as you might have understood, the need for our services have increased greatly. So thank you again for allowing us to come back, because with your donations, we will help people like the clients that I shared. We'll help them transform their lives. And if this is a mission that speaks to your heart, please do stop by and see us after service. Thank you again.
Good, just barely afternoon to everyone. My name is Haley Boyce, and I'm here as a member of the Lay Worship Leader Committee. Once a month, we share our Sunday plate, the monies collected today, with one of our local justice partners. We just heard from Mary with the Women's Center of Southeast Michigan, and this Sunday, we share our community's financial generosity with them. So I invite you, if you are in person, I invite you in several ways to support our community and theirs as well. If you're here in person, you can drop cash or a check in one of the baskets as they are passed. If you're interested in a more digital experience, you can text UUAA to 73256. Again, that number is 73256. And you can also visit us online at uuaa.org/giving and go ahead and select this week's fund. In whatever manner you decide to give, I thank you for your financial generosity and your commitment to making our congregation and Washtenaw County a better place for all. I would now like to invite our ushers forward as we gratefully receive today's offering.
$525,600 minutes, $525,000 525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year?
In daylights, in sunsets, in minutes, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life?
I would now invite you to rise in body or spirit as the ushers come forward and we dedicate our offering. And please join me in saying, to the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you.
Two Sundays in a row now, I've been a puddle on the floor by the time my part in the service comes up. You know, so beautiful. This is the first time we've had the full Chalice singers with us in 2.5 years. I think about that particular piece of music. I encountered it as a young adult, still in college. I saw the musical Rent on Broadway with the original cast. It was such a powerful moment in that time, in the late 90s, of feeling seen and valued. That the struggles me and my peers were going through were real, and they were being mirrored back, and they were being held in community. And such is the power of what we bring to one another. The gift of presence, of being seen and held and recognized, the worth of our journey with its joy, with its struggle, all of it. Such a beautiful morning now, afternoon already, reflecting on, in a variety of ways, the impact and meaning that community has in our lives, in particular this community, First UU of Ann Arbor. We're going to do something a little bit different this morning. I'm going to invite you in just a few minutes to engage in some peer conversation and sharing around two specific questions. And I'll get into the how in just a minute, but the two questions, the first is, what personal impact or meaning has UUAA, our congregation, our community, had in your life? And the second question is, why do you support UUAA with your time and your money? I'd like you to think about how these are distinct but interrelated questions. The first one, the keyword impact, the impact on you. What meaning have you found here? What sense of inspiration or possibility? How have you learned and grown here? How have you found support in the things that you're navigating in your life? I would dare say that each of us has felt some level of impact. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We could find better things to do with our free time on a Sunday. We're here because there has been impact. And I'd like you to be present to that, reflect on that. What impact is it in your own life that you've personally felt or experienced? The second question is one of support.
because everything here is co-created. Even as we are touched and we find meaning, learning, growth, support, whatever that is, we are invited, we're called to give back, to support the thing that has been so rich and meaningful in our lives. There's a mutuality in that. These two questions are linked through that mutuality. Now, how we're going to do this is, if you're here in person with us this morning, I'm going to invite you to turn to somebody near you in groups of 2 or 3. Now, I recognize some of you are here with a best friend or a family member. I'm going to invite you to spread beyond that and maybe be in different little clusters or groups. It's a great opportunity to meet some people in your community you haven't met yet. And just find a couple of people to be in a little bit of conversation with for a few minutes. If you are joining us through the live stream, you're online right now, we're going to invite you to engage in a group conversation in the chat. Reverend Theresa will be available to help facilitate and guide the chat conversation. And everyone who's joining us on live stream, you're invited to also share your responses to these two questions: the impact and the that you have felt in your life as a result of our community, and the support that you lend UUAA. If you would take a few minutes now, I invite you to break up into smaller groups for a few minutes of conversation. invite us to begin coming back together. If you could take a minute to put chairs back where they were, and we're going to come back together as a larger community. I kind of don't want to interrupt that beautiful energy you all have got going. It's palpable what meaningful conversations were occurring, the joy and enthusiasm with which they were occurring, both in person in our sanctuary as well as online. Continue to hold that. Hold the beauty and the energy of those conversations you were just having, because we'd like to extend a special invitation to you following the conclusion of today's Sunday service. When you exit, the second doors are into a room called Jackson Chapel, and we've got members of our AV team, our tech team there, who are set up and ready to record your brief, just off the cuff, 20 seconds, 30-second responses of what does UUAA mean to you and why do you support UUAA. We invite you to participate in this. Please do. It creates a collage, this tapestry of voices and faces of who we are as a community and the impact we routinely have. I hope you'll join us in that. Jackson Chapel after the services. Now, as we move more deeply with this, thinking about the impact and meaning community has had in our lives, how we also support community, I'd like to take that impact and meaning a few steps further, even deeper. As many of you know, we've been engaging in this work we called Vision 2050. What does our community stand for, believe in, aspire to be, the impact we aspire to have in the larger world around us? We're going to hear in just a moment a video reflection, a video testimonial from Joni Parker, co-chair of our community's Vision Support Committee on the impact of our Vision 2050 thinking, planning, doing, what that means for all of us.
Hi, I'm Joni Parker. I joined UUAA in October of 2019. I was looking for a community that was energetic and authentic and visionary and had space for people of all faiths and all beliefs to come together around common purpose of creating a loving, fresh, vibrant world for everybody to participate in. And when I found all of you, I knew I'd found my home. I don't live in Ann Arbor, and so it's not a choice of convenience. But wherever I am, I really do feel like UUAA is my place for peace, for friendship, for common purpose. When I arrived, Vision 2050 was just being birthed, and I was really impressed by how audacious it seemed and how inspiring it was for me. And it reminded me of the old adage, if you aim for the stars, you'll reach the moon. And I thought, yes, together, this community can be a beacon towards those goals in our community and in the world. What I also like is the vibrancy of many generations coming together. And I think for Vision 2050, it's us coming together around what our children's world will look like and what their children's world will look like. Listening to them, co-creating that world with them, and learning our own way into that process from year to year, from day to day even. The other thing that I find very interesting about Vision 2050 is that we've done so much of this, or you've done so much of this for so long, that this is part of our DNA as a community to do this work. And yet the three strands, the climate action and justice, anti-oppression and anti-racism, and radical welcome, those three strands now under Vision 2050 can wrap together. It's almost like three pieces of DNA wrapping into a singular whole, where each strand is essential and it's important. And And yet it does not stand, it does not achieve what we want to achieve on its own. So as a recovering Methodist who's been running away from the Trinity for my entire adult life, I see here a Trinity that is powerful and that is worthy of us knitting together between our three priority areas into a single vision, where together we celebrate what we're doing. We create a path where we take on big issues that underlie all three of those strands. We listen to our children and how they want to tackle these three. We take our spiritual journey together around all three of these, very personal support to each other as we're on this learning journey and as the world changes around us. So, I think that we're on a remarkable journey where this community has so much power and so much space to do amazing things. And if you have not yet found your path in, there is one there for you. I have great confidence of that, no matter if you're 5 years old or if you're 85 years old. And it's a joy to be working alongside not 5 of you in a particular group, but all of you in this Vision 2050 effort. I feel incredibly grateful for the space that you've all given me to come and join your community and to be part of stewarding this vision into reality. And look forward to seeing you all soon.
For those of you that were with us last Sunday, we got to witness the modeling of Reverend Allison Farnham as she was talking to us about prison ministry, doing so with such love and tenderness while also talking about a topic that is full of pain and sadness, the twinning of both possibility and reality. That's my task before you today, is to step into a little bit of what Reverend Allison modeled a week ago. As today marks the launching of our annual Stewardship campaign, and if you're not familiar with that language, that refers to our annual financial giving campaign, upon which our annual budget is based. Drawing on the imagery that Joni Parker gifted us, strands of DNA wrapping into a singular whole, a unifying vision of who we are as a community, what we believe in, the difference we're trying to make in one another's lives in Washtenaw County and beyond. It is a beautiful vision which each of you were individually giving testimony to just a few minutes earlier, the impact that you have felt in your own life. It's in this context of knowing the power of community, how important it is, the difference it makes, that we launch into this year's annual giving campaign, the theme of which you'll see as you receive the literature, mail or emails in the days ahead. The theme is Lift Up UUAA. It's got a beautiful image of a hot air balloon with our chalice, and it's all about how we lift each other up together to the work that's needed in our time and the age that we're in, the way that we lift each other up when any one of us is down and in need of support, in need of some love and care. So when we talk about stewardship, I know some of you are decades-long Unitarian Universalists who know every angle of this inside and out, and it's equally true that we always have some folks with us who are newer to our community for whom all of this may be new. So I'm going to talk about some information which I fully know the long-timers, you're well-versed in some of this. This time of year in our annual giving campaign, we ask everyone, members, friends, visitors, if you've been coming here and found the community, the time here to be meaningful, we ask for an annual pledge. It's a written financial commitment for the financial year to come, which is calendar year 2023. And it's your best guess on how much you might be able to financially contribute in the year ahead. It's not legally binding in any way, shape, or form. It's your best guess. Now, it's a written down commitment because if many of us have this idea in our head, well, I think I can do this, but we can't base our community's budgeting on numbers that you might be silently holding internally. So we ask that you share that formally with us through a written commitment, through a written pledge. If you've never made one before, this is the time, this is the year. I strongly encourage you, more than ever, we need your first time pledge, your first time written commitment. Any amount that you can reasonably make happen for your household, your family, your life will matter. I promise you it will matter. We ask for your written pledge for the next calendar year. Now, unlike other nonprofits, that you might get, we used to get these mailings. I would sometimes get 2 or 3 of these a day. Now it's become emails from all these national organizations. And you know what? It used to be in the day, you take the little bottom part of the page and you send it in with a check for $50 or $100, whatever. We are not that kind of nonprofit. So I want to take a minute to just talk about that. Those national organizations send out those mass emails or those mass mailings to hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people. And so the $50 here or the $100 here can add up when the base of people you're drawing on is hundreds of thousands or millions of people. That's not us. So all of our money, everything that funds our programs, our activities, our services, our staffing, everything we do together is provided by us. There are no external grants, there's no external funding sources. And the us is about 600 people. It's about 600 adults We've got about 100 to 200 kids that are associated with those 600 adults. We are a community, unlike those national nonprofits that you get mailings or mass emails from. We are a community. And so the money that you donate here is for community. It's an investment in the community that shows up for you at times in your life where you may need guidance or support or opportunities to learn and grow, opportunities to grieve, opportunities to just be seen and held and supported. It's an investment in you, and it's an investment in the community that you're a part of and that was going to show up for you. That's what separates us from those other nonprofits. Now, I don't have, like there are other traditions, my mother-in-law reminded me, she's a devout Catholic. The priest would just tell every family, it's 10% of your household income is what you're expected to give in that Catholic church. By the way, that's not dissimilar from many of the Jewish traditions as well. You're told an explicit percentage tithe that you're expected to make. So if you found your way to Unitarian Universalism, congratulations, because we don't do any of that. We're very low pressure about everything, including this. And so I have no scriptural condemnation or exhortation that I can lob at you. I can't promise you heaven or hell. I don't have any of that. We have to rely on each other's goodwill and best intentions and best efforts. That's all we've got. And what we do in support of that is we give you factual information. So the factual information is that it takes, on average, $2,000 per member or friend or visitor per year to provide all the services, programs, activities that we do. That's not per household. That is $2,000 per individual in your family or in your household. This average cost or fundraising expense, or hope or dream, whatever we want to call it, we know that we mesh with that considerations of social justice and economic equity. Not everyone in our community can afford to give at that level. Some folks give a lot more than that, a lot more than the $2,000 per person or individual, but some can't give anything close to that. And so we recognize that overall, collectively, those needs wind up getting balanced. Those who have more resources give as generously as they're able, and we just ask for that for everybody. That please look at your own personal and household finances and give as generously as you can because it's needed. The good work and the impacts that happen are supported through that generosity. Now, we're existing in a time of several challenges. Those of you who have been in our community for some time, you know that the current fiscal year that we're in, the current calendar year that we're in, we've navigated what you could call expense-related financial shocks. Last year we had 5% inflation, which impacts everything, the cost of materials, labor, supplies, in addition to which the insurance premiums that we pay as an institution went up by 20% in 1 year. So those are significant expense-related financial shocks. Those don't just happen every year. That's not typical. And when the resources we could gather were not sufficient to the increased costs for the current calendar year, the current fiscal year, we had to release staffing. We had to let go of staffing that otherwise we valued and would have wanted to keep in place. That was the only way to make the budget meet. Now, sometimes people ask me, well, weren't there other things other than staffing? Why does it have to be staffing that we have to let go of if the money isn't quite there? What folks, if you understand, if you've been a part of a nonprofit, in leadership of a nonprofit, or have some familiarity, program funding is lean, particularly in a congregational setting like ours. If we were to zero out every possible little program line item that's like $500 here, $1,000 or so there, it doesn't add up to tens of thousands, let alone 100,000 or more dollars that at times need to be balanced. The primary expense for a nonprofit congregation like ours is staffing. And when the money is short, the staffing is what typically needs to be cut. So the challenge is that we're in a year and looking towards another budgetary cycle where we have had additional and ongoing financial stresses and shocks on the expense side. We're in a context where the inflation rate last year was 5%, this year is on track for 10%. On an operational budget of $1.1 million, that alone, just the inflation, is $110,000. We know that insurance providers always outpace inflation. They make sure they're getting theirs. So the insurance increases we will be looking at will be greater than 10%. Our internal projections show that in order to continue static, the level of operations, services, staffing that we have in place today, right now, we will need $164,000 in new additional income. That means new and additional pledging. That's to stay static. That's a steep number. That's a climb for us, which in the absence of which, if we're not able to raise that level of money, we will need to curtail staffing further, which is not something I necessarily personally want to do, or I know any of us want to do. But for a nonprofit, ultimately we will need to find a way to live with fiscal balance. So how do we meet this challenge, this steep challenge for the funding cycle we're in, the year ahead of us? When you receive your stewardship material, you'll see that the ask is framed as a question. Could you consider giving UUAA, this community, an additional $1 per day per member or friend in your household? So for $365 additional dollars, $1 a day per member or friend in your household, if everyone in our community did something approximating that collectively, we could meet the challenge in the year ahead. We would absolutely be able to meet it and continue all the good work that is already underway. As Joni said in her video testimony, sometimes you have to aim for the stars and you might just reach the moon. And this is that moment to try and aim for the stars. We have to, because we know what the impact is of this community in our lives. We are not just any Unitarian Universalist community, and believe me, I've led a few of them. I've been in a bunch of them. And this community, more than any other that I have known, has touched me. It has inspired me. It has healed me in ways that I've needed healing. It has changed me. I am a better leader because of you, because of this community. I'm a better human being because UUAA exists. And I know you feel that as deeply and as strongly as I do. And that's why I can say with confidence that we can lift up UUAA and we can rise to this challenge. Hold the depth of that challenge in your heart because it is real, but also I know we can meet this. Go forth from this day knowing that reaching for the stars doesn't need to be a fantasy. It is something we can do, and it's worth doing when we hold the impact we're trying to have in the world, in each other's lives and beyond. Leaning on one another, drawing on one another's strengths, we can continue nurturing the community that our world needs, that each of us need. If you would now, I invite you to rise in body or spirit, drawing on that strength of community, who we can be when we lean on each other. Hymn 1021 in your teal-colored hymnals. It's our closing hymn.
We We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just come in, lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Beloveds, go forth into this new week. Go forth knowing that you are held in the love of this community. You are held in its embrace until we are together again. The challenges of our world, our time is deep, but together we can lift one another up, hold one another, keep inspiring one another to be the best people we can be. Go forth knowing that you're supported in all of that, in being the best you that you can be, until we are together again. Go in love, go in peace. Amen.